Good.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daphne Thompson, and we're here to chat about the superwoman entrepreneurs and everything that you might need in order to run a successful business as an entrepreneur or as a CEO of your business. And today I am having Suzanne Scarra with us. She is a phenomenal mastermind in how to break through limiting beliefs. And if you think you don't have some, I think maybe you should chat to her. So, Suzanne, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. Hi, Daphne. Good morning to everyone from Australia and right around the world, wherever you are. So, I'm a psychologist in far north Queensland, and I love to work with people to break through those limiting beliefs because I just have so much evidence now that people can really break through those barriers when they let go of those beliefs that they formed when they were children, which were never true in the first place, but we keep gathering evidence that they're true, like I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy enough or something like that. And they were never true, but because we get it in our energy field, we keep gathering more and more evidence of it and we believe it to be true and we hold ourselves back. So we don't need to do that. We can actually break through those barriers using some of these new amazing techniques, like emotional freedom techniques. So that's what I love to do.
That's awesome. And we just got Annie joining us as well. Welcome, Annie. Please introduce yourself a little bit. Annie is another phenomenal superwoman entrepreneur that's part of our global mastermind. So tell us a little bit about you. Are you still there? You're still on mute, Ant. Oh, well, until we wait for Annie, let's have a chat about today. We're talking about resource management planning, which is basically planning on your team. How do we hire them? What are the needs that we need? What challenge will the employee solve on our behalf? So, Suzanne, I know you work with quite a bit of um, not just entrepreneurs, but also staff members of personnel. So please tell us a little bit, what are some of the challenges that they face? Because how I see this thing is we're building a team, but when we get someone on board, there's a challenge that the entrepreneur or the business has that person needs to solve, right? That's why we have team members. So what is the mindset or what are the go-to from the personnel side?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Because I think it's the same anyway, whatever level you're on. We all want to be acknowledged and, our efforts to be recognised.
Yeah.
And if that happens for someone at a level that's where they're working for you, that's great, and they'll do more and more for you. If you're doing it for yourself, if you're acknowledging what you're achieving yourself, you will encourage yourself and you motivate yourself to do more and more. But if you're not doing that acknowledgement, then it kind of shuts the doors quite a lot. So that would be my number one thing, I think, just acknowledging the contribution of each person at whatever level they're at. That need for recognition, that need for acceptance, I think is really high on the list. And it's what I hear from clients all the time. If they're not getting recognised for what they do, then resentment builds and builds. And that's when trouble comes. when there's ructions in the ranks, so to speak. So yeah, spending some time recognizing the work, that the contribution that they do, the work that they do, encouraging them, giving them some sort of ownership of whatever the position is, so that they know it's up to them to develop new processes, new plans, new procedures, so that they feel like they've got some ownership and they want to do better. And that is right through the ranks. That's for an entrepreneur working on their own like me, or it's for groups of staff members that you might have as well. So hopefully that helps.
It does. But then we basically step into motivation for an employer. What motivates them? And
Yeah.
I personally have got challenges with constantly trying to motivate employees on a continuous basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So
because I kind of feel like, isn't that I know it's probably wrong, and all the big people are saying that this is wrong, but my problem with that is if I pay you for something, it is your job and that's your remuneration. Why do I still have to motivate you and inspire you as well?
Yeah, yeah. And some people are self-motivated, aren't they? And some people
Hmm.
are just not. So yeah, it is a tricky thing. It's not just about the money. It is much more about that personal um, acceptance, acknowledgement. Yeah, the motivation. It can be really frustrating as a business owner, I can imagine.
So thanks, Suzanne, Tommy, and Tracy. Welcome to this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We are chatting about your resource management planning. So the Superwomen Entrepreneurs give a platform to all business owners and even CEOs or decision makers in companies to have a holistic and an all overview to get some really good content and advice about how to run your business in all aspects. So today we're chatting about your staff, your resources. Now, the reason why we're talking about this is majority of the time, or actually in all situations, is when you take someone on board on your business, it is for them to solve a problem that you have. It's for no other really reasons. You get help because you've got a challenge, right? So we're talking about this today and just your input. I am currently challenged to continuously motivate my team, and I understand it's a necessary project or a necessary thing. I just always I am challenged by it because I feel I give you remuneration. Now I need to motivate and take all of that emotional things on as well. And I'm like, guys, can you not just do your work? That's why I pay you. But anyway, so Tommy, welcome, and please introduce yourself and tell me your input before I rant on for too long.
Hi, this is Tomi Abibu, and I'm part of the wonderful Superwoman Entrepreneurs. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys. It's amazing to be here all the time. Well, when I can make it, basically. So my contribution to this amazing team is to provide clarity and growth. So if you are running your business, a female running your business, regardless of whatever stage that you're in, at any stage, we all need some level of clarity in what we're doing, our vision, our goals, when we want to achieve things. And sometimes, because of so much noise, this can get clouded. So, my aim is to provide you with a system to help you get clarity. But once you understand why you're doing something, then it becomes easier to do and more fun. So, that is my contribution. Okay, so with regards to the topic for today. Now, I'm going to, you know me, I like turning things around. I want to say sometimes I want to be, to some extent, be on the employee side to some extent right now in this conversation. And the reason being because from experience, what I think happens is that when someone comes on board, and they are expected to do certain activities, and sometimes they can't deliver, either because they don't have the skills or maybe they thought they could do it and they couldn't do it. Now what tends to happen is that when they are at work, sometimes they don't have the tools to do it. So we say to a staff, okay, we need you to go and create, for example, a content for a client, or we need you to develop something for a client or manufacture something for a client, for client. Every single step of the way, I know this sounds very weird, but all of and every single step, and resources that is needed needs to be provided to an employee, because from the mindset of an employee, they're there to come and do what you ask them to do. I know it's weird because as from an entrepreneur point of view, we are creative. So even if we don't have the resources, we look for the resources, we use the resources, or we create the resources. But a lot of times, employees are not like that. They come to work, they want you to tell them what they have to do. And this is where procedures come into place. Like every single step, from my background, we're very procedure orientated. If I don't specifically have, I ask someone to create something. If I don't specifically, is it my phone? If I don't specifically have in detail what they have, what they have to do, how they have to do it, or they can be creative, but at least the resources is there. So to some extent, we have to ask ourselves, if someone is not delivering, do we have specific tools to guide them with regards to every single template that they need, every single, for example, whatever information that they need to be able to create or deliver what they have to deliver? And a lot of time is not there. And I'll use previously my business partner. She's very guilty of this. She'll just ask someone, go and get this done. And I'll ask her, you have told this person to go and get this done, but what do they have in their hand to get it done? And then they come back, they can't deliver. So I think we need to ask ourselves, what have we literally given to our employees or staff member to actually get the work done specifically? I know it's a little bit off, but that's me done.
No, I do agree with you. You can't give someone or tell someone to go cut a tree without giving them a saw as well. I kind of do 100% agree on that. It's more of a thing about when you've given them the saw and you've given them training on how to use this and you've given them guidance over a period of time, and now they still come with their feet dragging. Then I'm like, guy, are you now still my solution, or do you become my liability? And somewhere there, a line needs to be drawn, and the employee itself kind of plays a really, really big role in that. But Trace, thank you so much for joining. Tell us a little bit about you, and I'd love to hear your input.
Hey Daphne, hi Suzanne, hi Annie, and Tommy. Nice to see you, talk to you on this morning. I'm in Tokyo. It's still dark outside actually. So Daphne, you're the only one I get up this early for. So so my take on employees. Look, at the moment, so throughout my career as an owner, I've gone through phases where I've had lots of employees, and I've had phases where I've had very few employees. And it's always really tricky because people are complicated
Complex.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And they've got their own stuff. And at the same time, as a business owner, I want to be empathetic of that, but and sympathetic of that. But at the same time, I've got to, to pay their wages. I have to have certain deliverables so that I have the money to pay them. So, but recognizing that not everybody is money motivated. And so that comes back to it's some people just don't see the exchange of time for money. They need to have something more than that. They need to understand the motivation. Where are their contributions going? How are they contributing to something that is doing good in the world? And I think if as owners, we not only have to motivate them by saying, well, this is the job, this is what I'm paying for you for, so you've got to do it type of thing. It's like, well, if you do this, and if we, can make this contribution together to the world, these are the changes that we're going to make. And I think the recent studies show that this is especially what millennials are looking for, where they're when they're working. They're not just motivated by the money that you're paying them. They're motivated by what cause, not necessarily a cause as in a a political cause. It's more about being part of something that is that the collective is doing, that will do some good in the world. Will make a solution that is benefiting humankind. So if we have to, as managers, be aware of why the people come on board. It's not just money overall. So that's an interesting thing. And the interesting thing is that what I'm finding lately is I'm watching the news about everybody quitting their jobs and looking at why that's happening. That's a really interesting situation. A lot of people it's not just about the money. It's not just about the conditions. It's it's a really interesting time that we're in right now, and how we're going to move forward as business owners. What are people looking for? How are they going to be fulfilled in their job? How are they going to feel like they're part of the team? That's a big challenge. So I guess I don't really have any answers. I'm just sort of waxing poetic on that. So I'll yield the mic.
Thanks so much, Trace. We love you. But I hear what you're saying, and all of this is really nice and it's true. But all right, it still means that the economy needs to grow, which means everyone kind of needs to work together to get that going. Entrepreneurs usually creates the opportunity for it to happen, and employees need to assist in building this because they solve the solutions that the entrepreneurs can't. Right? So it's a collective thing of doing that. One of the challenges that I'm maybe trying to communicate is that the mindset of the employee is not always there in that way that we are building in order to get something done so that everyone can succeed in some sort of way. It's what I feel or what I've experienced, and it might not be the same for everyone, is that it's very much a gimme, 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 gimme. I need the tools, I need the training, I need the motivation, I need the inspiration, and oh no, but my cat died, so you have to pay for that too. And I'm like, what? What? Like, Annie, you have managed, I know at a point it was several hundred employees that reported into you. How did you deal with these type of things? You're on mute, sweet. Yeah, unmute. No. You muted. You make unmute.
Why do I keep muting? I'm unmuted. It's because I'm so busy, I keep muting. So I do immigration work in Canada, and immigration is really, really busy. But I did previously work in an industry where I did employ 100 people at a time, and I've hired hundreds and hundreds of people. And I don't think that things have changed as drastically as people think. I think that you will always have some really good employees, and you'll always have some really bad employees who have very different expectations. Maybe they're high expectations, maybe they're unrealistic expectations. I think overall, one of the big changes that we've seen is that in Canada, I can't speak to everywhere in the world, but in a lot of places, it's a more level playing field. So we expect that our employees will have an opinion and they'll be working alongside us as opposed to below us. But that's not the case everywhere in the world. And I see this a lot because I bring in foreign workers, and there are some cultures who they don't work like this. So when a Canadian employer says, hey, what do you think of that? They don't know how to respond. They don't know how to be. But they have high expectations or different expectations in other areas of that employer because they've been taught their whole life that the employer is above them and they're the, always the man with the money. Now it could be the woman with the money, but it's just a different cultural way of being, a different upbringing or a different expectation that comes from where they lived and where they learned. So you're always going to have the employee that doesn't do that much and wants too much and has this expectation that is unrealistic. They will always exist. There will also always be two employees who are a pain in the butt and they cause trouble among the rest of the staff. They will always be there. When you get rid of one, another one appears. That's just how it is. Then you will always have the employee who is killer and they nail it every single time. They are right behind you. They fill in the holes. They find your coffee when you've left it over there because you're self-employed and so you're a bit scatterbrained because you're busy. They're wonderful, but they also will leave because they're wonderful and they can probably do their own business. So they're going to get out of there. So it's just, I think, tempering your expectation. And it's not that you should have a low expectation. Of course, we don't want that. But knowing there's going to be a cross section and that the ones we want are probably the ones just below those really, really good ones because they're going to leave and we want the pretty darn good ones who are going to last for a long time and really help us through the different periods, the ups and downs of our business. So that's what I have come to realize with employees, and I've had a lot of them, that the ones who are awesome, they're going. The ones who are really bad, get rid of them. As soon as they start costing you money, they've got to go. If they're disrupting the roost, if they are, stealing from you or any of those other things. And that does happen. I think it's the exception, not the rule. It does happen though. But anytime they're costing you money, they've got to go, and they've got to go quickly. And then the ones in between, you just it's a bit of give and take, and you turn a blind eye to a few things. And the ones who are starting to excel, you can really encourage them, and hopefully they become your top notchers. And, that's just how it is. But I just wouldn't get too excited about it, because this is it's
just on that. So
it's hard paying for it, right?
Yeah, but there's different mindsets in this. So there's all these gurus that go, all right, but you're not growing because you're not hiring. You don't have enough help. You're not doing this. And then there's the mindset of the guys that are actually doing this and going, you're right, but how do I find the right people? And I have this problem. How do I find the person that will be able to solve my problem? And then we get to all the different mindsets and things that we're talking about. So what I want to ask you guys is, how do we plan from a business perspective? How do we plan to get help on board? So usually it is first, we establish the problem. That's usually what it is. This is the problem solving. Oh, this is the problem stating. Then we come up with a solution. I need a person that has X, Y, Z skills. My culture is this kind, so I need a person with these type of traits that fit into the culture. And now go find it, right? How do you guys plan to do that? From a monetary perspective, what I usually do is, when I know that I need to hire leadership specifically, because this is most of the times that is the more difficult one. It's easier to get a VA or whatever just to do small tasks. But when I need to hire leadership, my first thing is, can my business actually pay for this talent to come in? So about 3 to 6 months beforehand, or during that time, I try and start putting the salary into a different account, so that my business learns how to live without and how to operate without this big expense. So when I eventually find the person, I have 3 to 6 months worth of salary, which will then cater for that honeymoon period of knowing, is this person going to last or isn't going to last? But it doesn't necessarily affect my business in such a dramatic way that it might be if I didn't have that backing. But that's just from a monetary perspective, or from a business perspective, how I tend to prepare for leadership hires. But how do you prepare for leadership hires, or for more talented hires? That is, you don't always know what solutions they will also bring to the table, and their salary. I'd love to hear. Anyone?
I guess I could go ahead. When I'm hiring, it doesn't matter what the position is, but I go on my gut, and that is not a very good thing to explain to our viewers, unfortunately, but it has served me very, very well. I think that's such a great idea to set aside the funds, because when you're hiring real talent, they're going to cost more, and you need to know what you're in for, and you need to be able to afford them, because if you can't afford them, then they're not going to want to work for you. And sometimes, so I work with a lot of employers who are trying to hire talent and don't have the funds for big time talent. And that's where they start to hire foreigners, because they can hire them at a lower rate. They can help develop the team. And then when that person's ready to become Canadian, they can move on, and they'll look for another foreigner that they can hire at a little bit lower rate. So that really helps them to develop their business. And I think that's a little bit like if you hire someone from Fiverr or one of those things, sometimes you can get for a little less money. Although in my case, they actually get a real benefit in that they will eventually be Canadian. But yeah, it's a little bit like relying on those resources to improve your business, and then kind of go from there. So, yeah, I mean, for me, a big thing is, do they respond to me quickly? Are they comfortable to speak to in the interview? Can they answer my questions? Do they have interesting ideas? Do I think I can work with them? Because to me, that's a really big factor, that personal connection. And it's not, I don't want to talk, about my day with them and that sort of thing. It's not personal, but I do need to feel like we can have a relationship, a professional relationship, and that we're going to be able to work together. And if it feels at all like this, then it's just not going to work, right? So that's where, for me, it is, I do rely on my instincts. And if my instincts are telling me that we're probably going to get along and we kind of think along the same lines, and he or she, I often hire women, but he or she is motivated, then I will go to next steps and I'll do, maybe a second interview, or I'll send them written interview questions, or try to get more out of them, but in different ways. So it's not always just that one-on-one interview. I try to get information in different ways from people so that you kind of know how they're going to react. But you know what? You just don't know what you're going to get until you've got it. So sometimes it's just a matter of dive in. You got a good feeling, great. Dive in, see how it goes. If after 3 months it's not a good fit, then and you get rid of them and cut your losses. And that's where, Daphne, what you said about having those funds set aside, like, wow, what a good idea, especially if you're going to do that, where you are going to dive in and just try it.
Tommy, you've also had quite a bit of experience in hiring larger teams. How did you do your resource planning?
I think when you say resource planning, with regards to from a financial point of view, I guess I'm focused mainly on the deliverables and also cash flow. So if, say, for example, within the team, we are short of staff, and I know that I can either get someone that is, I don't know, don't have much experience, and someone that's really have a lot of experience, then I have to look into that. I have to consider how long it's going to take me to train that person. What resources do I have to train the inexperienced person? Because when those type of individuals join your organization, what tends to happen is it drains you. So if you want to get an immediate effect on your deliverables, then I would know, okay, how much is that going to, am I going to make out of that? What is the revenue that is going to come in if I get this person on? And that's how we've always managed it. It's more of like, what is the deliverables? What is the revenue that's going to come in over what period of time? And if I'm going to get that faster with an experienced person, then I will go for the experienced person. I would, I would just take on the hit. And if it's not relevant, whether that person is experienced or not, then I will go for the least experienced person and then retrain them with time. So it depends on the role. It depends on how long I'm going to train them for, and depends on how much revenue or deliverables I need over a certain period of time.
That makes total sense. Is there a structure that you follow when you do your planning, specifically when there is leadership hiring that needs to happen?
So that again, sorry, I didn't get that.
Is there a certain structure that you follow when you do leadership hiring?
Leadership hiring. Oh yeah, I mean, obviously you have the structure in place with regards to those that are going to do the actual implementation, or those that are going to manage the staff members that are implementing, or if you have like a strategist or something. So definitely it has to be a structure. If you need, or another thing that I do is not nice, but is if I might want someone to be a manager at the same time do the work. It's not really great because sometimes that affects the deliverable. So it depends on the person. But as Anna said, with this hiring thing, I've got it wrong, and that's why I don't like interviews, because you hear so much in the interview. People say what you want to hear. It's only when people actually start working over a period of time that you can actually judge their ethics. So going back to your question, yes, it's a structure. It depends on what work that needs to be done. But then having said that, you know, you just have to go with your, I definitely go with my gut, and I only give them a certain period of time to see how they work. I'm always reviewing them, like 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days before I give them any permanent work. So it depends on how they're working, their punctuality, their deliverables. You know, you can't judge that from an interview. Even if you do a 3-part interview, you can't judge that. So that's fine. But I don't like interviews, by the way. My interviews, if I'm interviewing you, it's so short. It's like 20 minutes interview.
No, I think that's exactly one of the things why this is such a crucial topic, because I also don't like interviews. And I don't think it's because of the interview part. I don't think it's because you're getting to know the person. It's the risk that's on the table of the decisions that you make. That for me is the biggest thing. Is if I hire this person, or if I make this decision to get this person on, I'm putting myself at risk, and it can be the most amazing decision that I make, or it can be the most horrible thing that I've done. And it's like any relationship. If you go into a relationship with someone, you usually start dating them first. You get to know them a little bit. You meet the family, you meet the friends, and that's kind of only when you really commit after that. But in a working relationship, they expect it to be done within 2 or 3 conversations. And then, they have this thing called probation period. And we all know that in a labor union, a probation period means absolutely nothing. So, Tracy, you've had experience in this as well. How do you combat that?
Sorry, can I ask a question, Daphne? Can I ask a question? You said that probation period doesn't mean anything. That's what we've used, and it's worked for us. What do you mean it doesn't mean anything from a union point of view?
From a union perspective in South African law specifically, is if you give someone in an employment contract, and even though there's a clause in that says 3-month probation, it means that they are still an employee, because the paperwork that you gave them is an employment contract. So all the employment rules count, which means you have to give them and things like that. But it doesn't mean that
it does count. It does count, but it gives the sorry.
In the South
there's a lag behind here.
Sorry, in the South African legal system, it doesn't mean that you can then fire someone after 3 months. It doesn't mean that.
That's different. That's different in the UK.
Yeah. You can't do that.
In the UK, it's totally different. It gives you. Okay, in the UK, it's totally different. It gives the employer has more power. You can let go of someone within a week, within the probation. Even after the probation, you still have the power. I think over for the next 2 years. It's after 2 years, as of today, that you don't that the power goes back to the employee. So within probation, you can let someone go within a week in the UK, or within whatever time you set as an employer. But then after, but you still have an element of power within the first 2 years of that employment.
No, so the way around that is to give contracts, not employment contracts, but like short-term contracts. So here's your first 3 months, here's your second 3 months, and then only give an employment contract. That's the way that it's been going around. And I've seen when we do international hires, meaning in a different country. So if we hired someone from the States, but the person actually lives in China, or international hires, this concept of actual short-term contracts work a lot better as well than actual employment. But Trace, what have you guys done?
I'm a massive fan of the gig economy. I mean, I work in it. All the people that I hire right now are workers in the gig economy. I just think it just keeps things short and snappy, and um, you know, you get the right people for the right job at the right time, and I've just found that works so much more than having, you know, someone actually on staff, because it's just a mindset shift. The people who are working in the gig economy, you know, they want it, you know, they want that instant gratification of not just the payment, but of having a job well done. And that's what you want. It's not just, you know, someone begrudgingly doing what you ask them to do. It's like, you know, you want them to be proud of what they've done. And I find hiring someone with the gig mentality, you tend to get that. And I tend to use the same people all the time. So translators or designers or what have you. And I just find that the people that you find in this with this mindset just work a lot better for me right now. In the past, you know, I've had long-term employees, and, you know, like Annie was saying, you've always got, you know, a couple that are a pain in your butt, and there's a couple that are really good, and it is, you know, it is almost a full-time job managing that and managing the personalities involved. And I've had to deal with everything from staff members with, you know, with eating disorders, and you know, staff members who've ended up in jail for something. So, you know, when you take on full-time employees, you do take on a lot of their crap too. So, so that's something you've got to be aware of. It's not just what they're going to be doing for you. It's giving them something, also a career path that they are on board with, and remembering that the things that motivate them to do work, or the things that motivate them to get up and come to work, is not necessarily the same things that motivate you as the boss. So so just keeping that in mind is really important. You know, I'm too busy to deal with a lot of these things these days. And maybe I'm just too old and crotchety. I'm not sure, but that's why I find I have really good results with the gig economy. But also the other success that I've had is when I share, when I get together with other entrepreneurs and I share talent. So I share the VA or I share the design talent, and it's almost like a collaborative community. And of, you know, people running their own businesses, but sharing the talent amongst some known freelancers, some known gig workers, and that works really well. That's a really good collaboration. So there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. You just, you know, we're all just doing the best that we can. So I'll yield the mic.
I love that idea of sharing the resources, Tracy, but can you explain what a gig economy is, please?
Gig. So so the gig economy is the sharing community. So so this is where you hire somebody just for a particular project. So what I tend to do is I have three sets of, you know, three columns, three task lists. There's the tasks that I can't do. There's the tasks that I don't want to do. And then there's the tasks that I should not be doing. So the things that I can't do are things that are maybe beyond my technical ability. You know, it might be some, you know, some sort of coding, some sort of design work. Things that I don't like doing are things like the accounting, running the numbers, and the things that I shouldn't be doing are the low-level tasks, the tasks that the support emails, the those sorts of things, the things that I can outsource or automate. And so I regularly sit down and write down all the tasks that I do, and I assign them into these three columns, and then I find solutions for those. and often the solutions are hiring. If it's a design project, I'll find a designer and I'll get them to maybe redo some icons, do some branding, color, for example. I've done the work on the brand. I've done the work on what I want the brand to convey, but then I might go and get an icon designer. And that's a short-term project. That's got a start and a finish and a deliverable and a payment plan. And that's what I say is a gig. And it's got very clear boundaries. It's got a very clear start and an end point, and then I pay for that and I'm done. And then the designer is done. And that's what I mean by a gig worker. So that's this, and you can shop around for that. There's a lot of resources where you can find some great gig workers, people that don't want to have a boss, people that want to pick and choose what they do, and so they're choosing the employer as much as you are choosing them. So if you want fast turnaround, then that's a good way to get things done. Does that explain it well?
Yes, very clear. Thank you. I get it. It's a gig. That's great.
It is just usually a bit more expensive than a longer term arrangement with someone. That's the only downfall.
Well, yes, on an hour-to-hour basis for sure. But then you don't have to deal with that person's cats dying. You don't have to deal with the with other things. It is something that can be quick and dirty, and you can just get what you need and let them deal with their own taxes, let them deal with their own equipment issues and tool issues. You're hiring them because they can deliver what you need and quickly, and if they can't, then they don't get good reviews, and so if they don't get a good review, then they don't have a lot of opportunity to make more business elsewhere. So that's why this system works very well for certain areas. But then when you get to a certain size, of course, you need to have leadership talent. You can't do everything on your own, and that's the sort of different area that Daphne was talking about before. Really looking at a career path that is also in line with what the person that you're hiring it responds to, and not just what you need done. So that's my take on the difference between a short-term employee and a long-term business partner.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. I think we've got some valid gems out of this and very, very value content on how to plan for your leadership hires, what are various options if you don't want to hire them, how to identify what you need, and how to motivate them, specifically when you make those very, very crucial decisions. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Daphne Thompson, and I am the founder at Catch the Beat. I focus on digital marketing, and I am super, super excited about our Superwoman Entrepreneurs Global Mastermind that is ready to go live. So will everyone just please explain a little bit about your profile is, and then I will see you guys next week, same time. Suzanne.
So Suzanne Scarrow, psychologist, and my part in the mastermind is actually the mindset and breaking through those limiting beliefs so that you can do what you choose to do and live the life that you really love. Thanks.
Annie.
Hi, my name is Annie McCaughey, and I am working on relationships, business relationships. So with you and your clients, with you and your suppliers, with you and your colleagues, all those business relationships are really important, and there are different ways to navigate them. And so I will be helping with that.
Tommy.
Hi, this is Tomi Abibu, and I am focusing on clarity and growth within the group. So I am giving out systems in which you can gain clarity on what you're doing, why you're doing it, what your goals are, and your vision, and how to achieve it. Regardless of whatever stage that you're in, there's always a time where you feel cluttered and feel clouded, and you need a little bit of help to just cross over the line. So that's what I'm here for.
Trace.
Hey there. So my name's Tracy. I am my part is branding. So it's not just about picking a logo, picking a font, picking some pretty colors. My part is to help you figure out the strategy. What is the message that you are portraying in the market, and making sure that that is resonating with your ideal client, and how you get to that with your brand. So the work that you do before you go and hire someone to build your logo, that's what I do. So I'm really looking forward to it, and looking forward to digging into some of these awesome branding challenges.
So thank you, everyone. Please join our community. We've got a Facebook group, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and please feel free to connect with each and every one of us. We'd love to chat to you and invite you into our community, and we'd really like to meet you. So until next week, we have an awesome, successful week, and it's Thanksgiving in America. So a lot of people are taking off this week, but we'll see you next time. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.